Ladies and gentlemen, we warmly welcome in our midst Major General Dr. Pavan Anand, AVSM, retired. He is heading USI ANBI. May I now request him to kindly share his thoughts on the government initiative for funding schemes.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is hardly anything new that one would really be able to bring out to a reasonably informed audience on the topic that she just spoke of. I think the government has gone out of the way to find ways and means to support startups. But at the same time, the government has got a filtering system which seems to be, at the moment, at times, which appears to be difficult to go through, a long drawn process at times, or sometimes even slightly opaque system. So, bringing the focus onto what are the opportunities that are available towards the defense sector. Firstly, the funding mechanisms which have opened up through the Ministry of MSMEs. That itself is an opening which many of you would be already familiar with. But when it comes to the Ministry of Defense, we have the Department of Defense Production, which is looking into this, and to a very large extent now, the entire defense procurement process has started looking into various mechanisms. Funding, however, is not going to come directly from the line directorates of the military. However, the line directorates of the military are aligning you towards what kind of a product they are looking for. So actually, it is the matchmaking between what is the requirement of the line directorates and what is the product available with the MSME. That matchmaking is where we find the maximum gap occurs. And that is exactly where institutions like the USI of India, where I am today and where you are all sitting today, and as General Pannu had brought out, it is just coincidence and serendipity that we happen to have this event here. It is exactly these kind of institutions which help you navigate through that space. Now, as far as the funding is concerned, available through IDEX challenges, the DISC challenges which are there through the DDP, that has now been increased from 10 crores to 50 crores. Of course, you go through a process where a series of presentations are carried out at the DDP. What the USI and people like us can mentor startups into is how do you align your product towards the defense requirement as such, so that it becomes acceptable. And the IDEX challenge, therefore, which is meant for innovations in defense, specifically for startups, that becomes a little more clear to those of you who are looking to enter into the defense sector. Once that product is somewhat aligned and the presentation is somewhat aligned, in the second stage, you will be able to see how the product, after you've won the IDEX, how that product needs to be taken through the process of a prototype and can be aligned for field trials. With this, the 10 crores now gone up to 50 crores through the IDEX process is going to be a reality. Also, there is the Spark process, through which there are 3 categories which are available, and ranging from 60,000 and going up to 10 lakhs, which helps startups in just basically aligning their product and coming up with a prototype. So the Spark and the DISC challenge, these are the 2 which would help through the DDP get some funding. But I would also like to bring to your notice that, and as was brought out by Raj Sharma earlier, that there are angel investors and available on the sidelines. Surprisingly, there is a huge amount of money which is floating around through these angel investor networks, some of which we are in touch with. What they are looking for is the right product, and where they feel that there is at least an MOQ, a minimum order quantity, available. Now, those are the ones So it's an alignment of these three which will help us get the funding. It's the angel investor, the requirement in the defense sector, and organizations like ICRA and the USI, which are conjunct with each other, which will help the ecosystem take forward the funding that it requires. So this is the kind of network which is getting developed between the few stakeholders and makes the funding available to us. I don't want to create a list of what are the funds available. DRDO has the Technology Development Fund that also goes up into a large amount of money. They also have an industry interface directorate. A very close a colleague used to be heading that and used to tell me how they also give access to testing facilities. They give access to certain funding as well. So all that, I'm sure many of the people who have entered this space would have started familiarizing with. But what ICRA and the USI could probably do is to bring all of them together and make sense for all stakeholders from their point of view. So I hope that the sessions and workshops that we have later on would also help us and put this picture together. Thank you very much.